Hi, have you been thinking about going vegan or considering adopting a vegan diet, but you're completely overwhelmed and unsure of how to actually get started? If so, keep watching. I've got 5 tips for you today, and this is the perfect video for you. Hi, I'm Sarina. Welcome back to my channel where you can learn the what, whys, and hows of veganism from someone who's been vegan since birth. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips for how to actually successfully make that transition and start eating and living vegan. Before we get into the practical tips of how to go vegan in today's video, I want to just take a minute and define what vegan and veganism actually mean. Veganism, according to the Vegan Society, is defined as a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, the exploitation of animals for food, clothing, labor, and any other purpose. Before we can go vegan, we have to know what and why it is that we're doing. Conviction, to me, is the number one tip that keeps you strong on the vegan path. And that's because while veganism has incredible benefits for human health, for the planet, for animals, it is fundamentally a principle of non-exploitation and justice. And keeping that at the forefront of our minds all of the time is what keeps you strong staying vegan. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into my 5 practical tips for going vegan. All right, so for tip number 1, focus on adding foods rather than eliminating things. And this is really twisting it up because a lot of people think of veganism, vegan diets as eliminating that meat, dairy, eggs, those animal products, which is true. But if you focus on the elimination and what you're eliminating, you're going to likely feel more deprived or feel like, well, I used to eat rice and chicken. Well, now if I take the chicken away, all I have is rice. And that's not going to work very well long term. One thing that I really suggest and recommend to a lot of people is start by picking a single meal, one that maybe you're home for and it's easier to cook or easier to change. Maybe breakfast is a really good one to start with. But pick that meal and for a whole week say, okay, I'm going to veganize my breakfast and just focus on that. So seek out breakfast recipes or try new breakfast products at the store that are vegan. Pick out those things and carefully plan your meals and what are those things that I'm adding in rather than just taking something I normally eat and eliminating the animal product from it. That I find is just the most helpful mindset shift that works really, really well. Tip number 2 is replace your staple pantry items with vegan versions of them. So if there are a lot of things that you eat regularly, whether it is butter or mayonnaise or crackers or breads or any of these type of staple items that you regularly purchase and have in your pantry and use in a lot of different foods, then veganize those. So replace those with your vegan staples so that those vegan options are just ready and waiting for any dish you want to make. I guarantee you, especially in today's market, pick pretty much any item or product and there's a vegan version of it, probably multiple. This is everything from, ranch salad dressings to mayo to even egg products that you can scramble that are completely made from plants. But whatever that is, whatever your favorite go-to pantry staples are, look up, research, go to your local store because it does vary based on region and where you shop and what it is you're purchasing. And try to replace those staple items with your favorite new plant-based staples. That will make this entire transition much easier so that you don't feel like you're that radically shifting the types of foods you're eating and you can still have, butter on toast. It's just vegan butter on vegan toast. Most bread is vegan, by the way. Number 3, make sure, especially if you are someone who has struggled to eat enough food, feel full, have enough energy, or, not lose weight, then make sure you are eating adequate portions and maybe even larger portion sizes than you normally would have. If you are starting to eat healthier and health is also part of your vegan transition goals, then you really need to make sure you are eating enough calories. Because the number one complaint that people have, I just never felt full or I didn't have enough energy when I was, eating a vegan diet. That's probably because you weren't getting enough calories. One of the things that happens is when people start eating more plant-based foods, those can fill you up often more quickly because they have a lot more fiber and nutrients in those foods, but actually fewer calories. For example, oil, just a couple tablespoons of oil has an immense amount of calories compared to a bowl of lettuce that's practically all water, but looks like a whole lot more food than a single tablespoon of oil would. So if you're eating heavy greens and lettuce, you may have to eat more of them, or make sure you are adding in more of those high protein and high calorie foods like beans, some plant-based meat or cheese alternatives. But all around, you just want to make sure that you are eating an adequate amount of calories. And if you feel like you're losing weight or don't have enough energy, number one thing to do is start eating more. Tip number 4, if in doubt, bring your own food. And this is the number one thing that I grew up with. My whole family was vegan, and if we went anywhere, we never expected to be able to find food at fast food restaurants or stopping along the way to road trip or going to a friend's house. Nearly every single thing I went to or did, my parents packed a lunch or sent food with me, whether that was school or a friend's house. And this is what I recommend. If you are going out on a road trip or a work trip, or you're doing something where you're not sure if you're gonna find a restaurant or vegan options around, which is changing rapidly and most places do have vegan options now. But if you're not sure, make sure you bring food with you. So bring granola bars, bring snacks, keep some food hidden in your car, or actually pack a meal if you're gonna be at a picnic or at a concert where they're serving food but it might not be vegan. Just bring your own food wherever you can if you're worried that you won't be able to go without eating during that time. Number 5, my favorite and final tip. Make sure that you seek out a supportive community. This is so crucial. If you are really dedicated to going and living vegan, you have to have people in your life who support you. Society is already fighting us enough that if the people in your immediate community, whether this is your parents, your friends, your community members, your church, if they all are hating on you or criticizing you or you don't feel supported by them, this will make going vegan immensely harder than it has to be. So today with the internet and social media, there are a million different communities and groups you can become involved in online to find and get support. And there are also growing meetups and animal rights and vegan groups around the world now in nearly every country and practically every city. Go to a potluck, go to an event where you can meet other vegans so that you can have that local support around you as best as possible. And additionally, if the people in your life aren't supportive, try and educate them. They're less likely to be supportive if they don't understand A, how important this is to you, and B, what the science and data really say about all this. So share documentaries with them, share Cowspiracy with them, ask to watch What the Health or Game Changers or any of these documentaries that are on Netflix and on YouTube. There are tons of free videos out there as well. So share this information with them so that they can hopefully get on board and understand where you're coming from as well. But if you can't have that right now, then seek out those other connections, build online friendships and relationships so that you can have that support and encouragement to remember why you're doing what you're doing and to stay this path. And don't forget to be gentle on yourself. This is the number one thing we have to remember, is you are going to make mistakes. You are not going to be perfect. You will screw up. You will forget to read a label. You will mess up. Probably, someone might offer you something and they tell you it's vegan and they don't know. So don't beat yourself up for not getting it perfect. It is not about being perfect. It is about not exploiting and harming animals. And we are just doing our best to continue living a life in alignment with that as best we can in a non-vegan world. So if you enjoyed this video and this information, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe below and hit that bell button so that you get notifications next week when I release another video in my ongoing series now of how to and the practical side of going vegan. I'll see you next week.